Several players from the Los Angeles Chargers are set to hit free agency in 2025. When asked about the situation, Jim Harbaugh shared his perspective, saying, "I don't know if it's possible to get everybody back, but I want to get as darn close as possible." Just to remind you that technically, it is not possible to retain all players. This is not how you play the NFL. Just as retaining good players is crucial, it's equally important to let go of those whose performance hasn't met expectations or who no longer fit the team's vision. This process is how new talent joins the roster and allows the team to keep evolving. With that in mind, I've identified 5 players the Chargers should avoid re-signing. Based on their recent performances and the current circumstances, parting ways with these players seems like the best move for the organization. The team would be better off finding replacements, whether through free agency, the draft, or even potential trades. Along with this, I will share good news related to Khalil Mack. He is probably the most hyped free agent of 2025. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel, so this is not a personal choice. The decision to either re-sign or move on from these players will ultimately hinge on several factors, such as their performance during the 2024 season, the team's specific needs, and salary cap implications. Bradley Bozeman made the top of this list. With all due respect to Bozeman, parting ways with him should be one of the easiest decisions for the team this offseason. Joe Hortis recently mentioned that talks about bringing him back have already happened, and Bozeman himself doesn't seem opposed to returning. However, unless the plan is to use him strictly as a backup, re-signing him would be a major mistake for the team. In 2024, Bozeman proved to be a consistent liability on the offensive line. His struggles often disrupted the team's rhythm, and for an offense that depends heavily on solid line play, his performance just didn't measure up. Whether it was allowing pressure in critical moments or struggling to hold his own against tougher defensive fronts, Bozeman's play left a lot to be desired. Bozeman's performance in 2024 was underwhelming, and Pro Football Focus backs that up with some telling statistics. He was ranked as the 29th best center last season, which clearly highlights his struggles in keeping pace with the competition. Since becoming a consistent starter in 2019 across 3 different offensive lines, Bozeman has earned an overall PFF grade of 63.89, just an average mark for his position. However, his 2024 grade of 61.2 was the lowest he's posted in 6 seasons, signaling a clear decline in his performance. His minimal defensive stats, just 1 solo tackle across the entire season, demonstrate his limited impact beyond his primary offensive line duties, where his struggles were most apparent. These numbers, combined with his declining performance metrics, paint a picture of a player who may have reached a crossroads in his career. At this point, the team would be better off investing in a younger, more reliable center, someone who can grow with the team and help solidify the offensive line for years to come. Next up is Hayden Hurst. His time with the Chargers should come to a close after just 1 season. Signed to a 1-year deal last offseason, the 31-year-old tight end had a tough time making any meaningful impact. His 2024 performance showed a clear decline, with career lows in receptions, 8, and yards, 73. For the first time in his career, Hurst also failed to score a touchdown. At this point, Hurst is a shadow of the player he once was, and the Chargers can't afford to rely on him moving forward. A tight end is still a major need for the team, and it's clear that Hurst doesn't fit into either the short-term or long-term plans. It's time for the Chargers to shift their focus to finding a younger, more dynamic option to fill this important position. A fresh mock draft suggested that Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green can be a good option at pick 55 in round 2. His frame is a little unorthodox, but his yards after catch ability would work very well in the current offense. Next on the list is Joshua Palmer. The 2024 season was a disappointment for the Tennessee product, especially in a year when Los Angeles needed him to step up. Unfortunately, he didn't deliver. Over 15 games, he recorded just 39 catches for 584 yards, averaging 15 yards per reception. While those stats might seem respectable at first glance, they reveal a more concerning trend. His 60.0% catch rate and single touchdown were career lows, and his 38.9 yards per game represented his lowest output since his rookie season in 2021. For a team that still has a pressing need at wide receiver, Palmer's struggles make it clear that counting on him moving forward isn't the best option. The front office would be smart to focus on adding talent to the position, whether through the draft or free agency, to ensure the team gets the production it needs. Next is Asante Samuel Jr. A year ago, the thought of moving on from him would have seemed unlikely. The 2021 second-round pick quickly established himself as the team's most reliable cornerback, starting 43 games in his first 3 seasons. However, injuries derailed his 2024 season, limiting him to just 4 games. During his absence, rookies Cam Hart and Tarheeb still stepped up and showed significant potential, securing their roles in the team's secondary moving forward. Pro Football Focus projects Samuel to command a 3-year, $43.5 million contract with $26.5 million guaranteed. While Samuel has shown he can be a talented player when healthy, that kind of financial commitment doesn't make sense for a team with bigger priorities and two promising cornerbacks in Hart and Still. Instead of committing significant cap space to Samuel, the team would be better off targeting a more cost-effective option like Christian Fulton, who could offer solid depth at a lower price. This approach would allow the Chargers to allocate resources to areas of greater need while continuing to develop their young secondary talent. The last player on the list is Denzel Perryman. He made his return to Los Angeles in 2024 on a one-year deal, starting 11 games and recording 55 total tackles. While those numbers aren't bad, Perryman's ongoing injury problems have been a major issue. Over the past 2 seasons, he's missed a considerable number of games, which has limited his impact on the field. At 32 years old, age is becoming another factor working against him. With Diane Henley already locked in as one of the starters at linebacker, it's clear the Chargers need to focus on finding a younger, more reliable option at the position. Free agency offers plenty of opportunities to bring in someone who can contribute consistently and help solidify the middle of the defense. It's time for the team to move on from Perryman and look ahead to the future. So, these are players that the Chargers should find replacement in either free agency or the upcoming draft. The Chargers have 7 picks with 3 compensatory picks as well, so they can find the best resource from the draft. Now, moving to the Khalil Mack situation and the latest development, it is most probably the good news for the Chargers. After losing to Houston in the playoff, Khalil Mack was seriously considering retirement, but a few days ago, he made it clear that he will play for another year. The Chargers already showed interest in retaining Khalil Mack. In the end-of-season press conference, both head coach Jim Harbaugh and general manager Joe Hortiz made their intentions very clear. They want Khalil Mack back. Hortiz said he's already texted a Mack about chatting soon. Harbaugh's words are even more interesting. I don't know if it's possible to get everybody back, but I want to get as darn close as possible, and nobody more than Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is ESPN's 7th best free agent this year, and he's the best edge rusher in the class. That's why experts are linking Mack with multiple teams. But the early interest in the veteran edge rusher could be a bit underwhelming, and that might actually work out in the Chargers' favor. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler mentioned the Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers as 2 of the early teams showing interest in Mack. The sense is Los Angeles will make efforts to re-sign Mack, who will play in 2025 after he said he needed to take time to mull his future following the season. The Chargers believe he embodies the spirit of the team's toughness, but many teams will be lurking for potential pass rush help, including, but not limited to, Atlanta and Carolina. But Stephen Hagland of the Guilty as Charged podcast brought an interesting point to the attention of Chargers fans. If Carolina and Atlanta end up being the top external suitors for Mack, it's likely that he'll be returning to the Chargers in 2025. Atlanta is projected to have around $37 million in cap space, while Carolina has roughly $42 million available. The Chargers are in a strong position, with a projected $63.05 million in cap space, giving them the flexibility to make a competitive offer. So, money won't be an issue for the Chargers. Los Angeles has plenty of cap space this offseason and can free up even more by waiving or trading Joey Bosa. While the Chargers shouldn't go overboard with a pass rusher in his 30s, the team has the resources to compete with any other team in a potential bidding war for Mack. Along with Falcons and Carolina, the Washington Commanders are also eyeing free agency with potential acquisitions in mind. Specifically Khalil Mack. Analyst Jack Sperry highlights Mack's impressive defensive stats, emphasizing his role as a seasoned edge defender and skills in protecting mobile quarterbacks, which could benefit the Commanders' offense under a new dynamic passer. According to Spotrac, the Commanders have $90.95 million in projected salary cap space, with 34 players under contract. That's a healthy spot that could potentially increase further once releases, contract extensions, or restructures come to light. But here is what things get interesting. Money doesn't seem to be the biggest factor for Mack this offseason. While he'll still be looking for a fair contract, he's in a position where he might be willing to take a little less if it means joining a team he's genuinely interested in playing for. The one thing that has eluded Mack in his NFL career is playoff success. He's never won a playoff game, and that's likely going to be the key factor in his decision-making this offseason. Sorry to break it to Falcons and Panthers fans, but neither team is anywhere near the level of contender the Chargers are. The Commanders can be a real threat if they are serious enough to sign Khalil Mack. So the ball is in Mack's court. The Chargers are going to make him an offer for sure. Now, what do you think? Out of the players we discussed today, which one do you believe the Chargers should keep, and which one should they part ways with the most? And what about Khalil Mack? Do you think Mack will stay with the Chargers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.